Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Fabric Coffee session at Microsoft Fabric Cafe. It is Merdad Abdullahi, the community lead of this great community. And so I'm here at 12 p.m. in Pacific time. So let me just figure out what's happening here. Cool. So, yeah. Thank you very much for being with Microsoft Fabric Cafe. That is really great to have you guys. We are trying to have the sessions in different time zones, in different hours, to accommodate more attendees as possible, and just have the actually bringing the opportunity for all attendees to attend into the live sessions and ask their questions from the experts and the speakers. So in the meantime, you can just say hi in the chat, and let's see who we have today. With that said, I'm gonna jump into my slides, and let's see what we have for today. So today is the 33rd session of Fabric Coffee, which is really great. And, the number is increasing. I'm super happy. And May 24th of 2025, 12 p.m. at Pacific time, as I mentioned. And so we are part of the Microsoft Learn community, a great place to just learn and learn about Microsoft technologies and Azure, landscape. And there are lots of learning rooms about all of those technologies, and the specialty that you need to improve yourself, improve your knowledge. And of course, you can just reach to your experts in those learning rooms. Feel free to reach out to your experts here. For those who doesn't know Microsoft Fabric Cafe, if it is the first time for you, or even if you're part of this community in the past, it is going to be a refresher. It is good. So we are a Microsoft Learn community, as I mentioned. With over 4,000 members globally, and we are focusing on Microsoft Fabric, and we provide learning and support to Fabric users in all levels, which is a forum for everyone to learn, share, and grow skills together. So the thing is that we have the weekly sessions. Actually, we have committed to have the weekly sessions, and with amazing speakers from around the world, to just talk about Fabric and whatever that is related to Fabric. Here is or some links to our social, the YouTube channel with the handler of Microsoft Fabric Cafe. You can just subscribe on that and watch all the past sessions, or watch live the current sessions and upcoming sessions for sure. Our LinkedIn page with the Microsoft Fabric Cafe name again, that you can just follow us there and be aware of any announcements, and you can also RSVP on meetup group to be aware of whatever that is happening with the sessions. There's a code of conduct for sure in our community when you attend the sessions. I really appreciate your kindness to adhering to all of these code of conduct. The past session that we had was with Lakshmi. That was a great session regarding the Power BI and the best practices. If you missed that, it is amazing. Just go and watch it or rewatch it if you have done it. There are hundreds of tips and tricks from Lakshmi, and you can also go through the other sessions that we had. And for today we have Jon Vöge. And he's going to talk about three types of low-code Power BI and Microsoft Fabric extension with Power Apps. So before I invite Jon to the stage, if you're around in Vancouver, Canada, there will be a Cloud Summit in Vancouver on May 27th, this coming Tuesday. It will be a full day in person event. If you're around, just join us there. We will be actually presenting there, in our booth. So make sure you are going to grab your stickers and giveaways. There will be a lot of fun. And the good news is that for the community members, we have 80% off for those tickets for the Vancouver Cloud Summit ticket. However, all the revenue from that summit event is going to be for the charity and for the donation. It is not that expensive. It is with 80% off, it's gonna be $6, $7 Canadian dollar. It is nothing. So I'm gonna invite Jon to the stage. Hey Jon, how's it going?
Remember that. Thank you for having me again today.
Yeah, welcome back. Welcome back to Microsoft Fabric Cafe. It is really a pleasure. We had you on before last year. Maybe one of very first speakers that we had in Microsoft Fabric Cafe. We will celebrate our anniversary in July, if I'm not mistaken, June, July.
Mm.
uh, and yeah, thank you very much for being here again. Yeah.
No, of course.
Cool. Just there are some comments. Wahid Mullah, thank you for joining. 1 a.m. in the morning here. Wahid, where are you? It is 1 a.m. Thank you for being available. The same thing with Nafion. Yeah, just let us know where you're connecting from. That's good. Good to have you here. So, Yon, what do you think about the announcements in Microsoft Build, by the way?
Actually, I brought us something little extra for the session today. The session will be about low-code extensions with Power Apps for Power BI, but the announcement about translytical task flows, which combines a new feature in Power BI with the Fabric preview functionality called user data functions, will be able to replace one at least of the extensions that I'm doing today. So I will present, also show, at least in brief, how you can accomplish this natively in Fabric. But more about that. So very stoked about that. That's right up
Awesome.
my alley. And yeah, I spent a lot of time this week getting a small demo ready for this session, especially just to make sure that we weren't outdated just because of the announcements. So
Okay,
super
cool,
excited, and
awesome.
I was
I didn't
busy
want to spoil
because
it,
of
but it's good.
that.
Good to have it. I wanted to
Of
just
course.
see if it is any related to the recent announcements, and
Yeah,
I'm
for
super
sure.
happy, to have it, and can't wait to learning from you. Please share your screen, Yon, and
Sure.
then I'm gonna just hand over the session to you. While Yon is busy with sharing, guys, we will have two riddles at the end of the session. Yon created them based on the presentation and the topic. So stay tuned. Bear with us until the end of the session. Yon is going to provide us with those riddles, and for the winners, we will have 50% off for the exam. Actually, the exam vouchers with 50% off for any fundamental and associates Microsoft exams. So yeah, Wahid, and yeah, you're from Bangladesh. Yeah, welcome. Cool. Yon, stage is yours. I'm gonna
Do
be in the backstage, and if there's any question, guys, add it in the chat, and where it is appropriate, I will jump in and try to stop Yon. However, it will be answered at the end of the session. So enjoy learning and good luck.
Thank you for that, and thank you all of you guys for joining. I think it's so cool that Fabric Cafe is a worldwide event, and we have people chiming in from all different time zones. Myself, uh, my name is Jon, as you've already heard. I'm located in Copenhagen, Denmark. So time here is what's that, 9 p.m. Which is perfect, after dinner, and it's nice to be able to share some Fabric knowledge with you guys. And had a lot of great fun talking about data flows and APIs and data flows back in September, one of the first cafe sessions, as Merdad said. And now super stoked to today be talking about. Um, low-code extensions to Microsoft Fabric and Power BI from the perspective of Power Apps, but full teaser there. Yeah, we'll also be talking a little bit about the new, completely new feature, Translytical Task Flows in Power BI. Just to give you an idea of what the next 40 minutes or so will look like, I'll start by showing you a demo of a couple of extensions, and then we'll go through them one by one, showing how they are built. And you know, uh, 3 extensions in an hour is ambitious, so some steps will be done faster than others, but I'll try and give you the foundational knowledge needed to get started with this, as well as at least some inspiration for where you can take these integrations with your Power BI reports. I've put Q&A on the agenda for the bottom, but really that's not quite true. I just wanted to remind myself to ask you guys to please ask questions along or during the session. Um, it's so nice when there are questions, and there are definitely things that I don't even know that you want to know, right? So please ask me. There are no dumb questions. There are 2 riddles at the end as well that we'll cover for the exam vouchers that Merdad mentioned. All right, so let's jump right into it and start with a demo. So I'm just gonna find my browser here and show you this Contoso report, which is, a super simple Power BI report, which in this case is built on a direct lake semantic model in true Fabric style. So, in my demo workspace here, I have a Contoso warehouse, which I've loaded some data into with a pipeline low-code style. I've done no real transformation, except building a direct lake semantic model on top of it, and then my report on top of that. So it's super basic transactional data. On the left-hand side of the screen, I have a drill down bar chart here where I can see the quantity sold for specific addresses on specific products on specific countries. So that's just to give you context of what's happening in the report. But the real magic and what we're going to talk about today is what's happening on the right side of the screen, because here I have no less than 3 different extensions that are embedded in my app. And you can see they look pretty neat. They just look like a part of the report. And that's all thanks to the visual in Power BI called the Power Apps for Power BI visualization. So each of these 3, they are a Power Apps for Power BI visualization, and they act just like any other Power BI visualization. They take a number of fields from your semantic model as input, and then they actually under the hood, they are just a table. So if I change this visual to a table, I can see what data is underneath what's being sent. Not sure why that's so slow to load. Hopefully we'll see that in a second. But it is just a flat data table. But then what's being rendered on top, you can see here is the table. It's unfiltered. If I filter my bar chart, this gets filtered as well. And when I change this into a Power Apps for Power BI visual, if this was the first time I did it, I would be allowed to choose a Power App that I would want to connect to. If you create a new Power Apps for Power BI visual like this and add fields to it, you also get the option to create a new one from scratch. We'll be doing that together in a second. Within each of these Power Apps for Power BI visuals, I've added 3 different pre-built extensions, and those are the 3 that we'll be recreating today, at least speed recreating. The first one, and this, for inspirational purposes, is a comment or annotation app. So, one of the most frequent write-back use cases that I see in Power BI is that somebody wants to add qualitative context to quantitative data, right? So it might be that there is a sales rep responsible for the sales in this area, and they want to add a comment saying that it's unusual that Monroe Street is buying so many products. And what the Power App does is you'll see at the top here, it's picking up information about what address. It knows I've selected Monroe Street, and it knows which product and country I've filtered into. You can't see that I did that here, but if I go up again, I can filter down into the SVDVD player item, select Monroe Street, and this is what's selected. So it's picking up the context of my filters in the Power BI report through these fields that I'm adding to the Power Apps for Power BI visual. And um, and then I'm with the Power App adding a text input field as well. And I'm saying, okay, let's save this comment, right? And if I click submit, I get a little GIF here, and now this comment is saved only for Monroe Street. If I click away to Michigan Avenue, you'll see I had another comment saved already for Michigan Avenue. For Grand Street, I have something else. For Kurfürstendamm, there's nothing. Go back to Monroe Street, we see the comment I just made. So that's the first demo. We'll take how exactly to build this in the next part of the session. The second app that we are going to build today is this master data management app. So what if I wanted to treat or provide master data write back functionality to my app in which I change data in my warehouse in Fabric? That's also possible. So let's say that Monroe Street was in fact called something else, Fabric Cafe Street. And if I go ahead and click enter on this, it will submit this data to the Fabric data warehouse, and then it will show up in the report. Full disclosure, when I click this, nothing will happen for about a minute or so, but that's because we're using Direct Lake. Had I been using Direct Query, it would show up live, but hopefully by the time that we're done with this demo, it will actually appear over here. But let's see. At least I got a successful submission and notification. So let's see in a minute's time if this updates to Fabric Cafe Street. And this is the second app that we'll be building together today. The third one is this ChatGPT extension app. What this one does is that it interfaces the OpenAI ChatGPT API, and you can prompt it with any text information that you want. You can ask it, what is Microsoft Fabric? Question mark. Throw that to the engine and get a response back. And that's just a way to embed an interface into your Power BI report that users can interact with. And oh, there you go. You can see now these direct lake semantic model has reframed, not refreshed, but reframed, and now the new metadata is in. We can see Monroe Street has indeed changed. Anyway, what I wanted to say about this was just that you can, of course, configure this to use other APIs as well. So if you have a company-specific API you want to integrate with, you can put that into your Power BI report like that. That's the third app that we'll be going through today. So those are the three apps that we're going to be building. And well, I have a few slides, but they don't really say anything super interesting. It's just let's build 1, 2, 3. So let's skip the slides and just keep live demoing and building, shouldn't we? Right? All right. So let's jump right into building this comment app because that's sort of the easiest one to approach.
Jon,
I already
sorry,
explained to
before
you how each of these extends. Oh, yeah, please go ahead.
my apologies. Before you jump into the next chapter, there is a question that maybe applies here. Sorry to interrupt you. It is: do the users
That's fine.
need a Power App license to be able to use that feature in the report?
Great question. It differs between each of these extensions. The first one here will not require any license of the end user at all. The subsequent two, they will require additional licensing, and I'll get into what licensing each of these requires. The short answer is no extra licensing for the comment app, Power Automate or Power Apps Premium licensing for the second one, and OpenAI API credits for the third one, but no Power Platform licensing.
Cool. Thank you.
A little complex. I'll do my best to recap that after each of the demonstrations. To continue with the comment app here, we already established that these three integrations, they are built using this Power Apps for Power BI Visual. We've established that under the hood, they are just a table visual. At least they accept just, a raw field list that behaves like a table. And if I create a new one of these, I'm just going to copy paste it. Let me actually not do that. Let me just say create a new one and add the three fields we have. Oh, let me do this another way. Let's actually just edit this app that we already have and create a new page in there. So there are two ways you can get into Power Apps from here. You can either, if you already have an app, you can click Edit on an existing Power Apps for Power BI Visual, or you can create a new one add a field and click Create New. But to avoid having to redo all this, let me go in and click Edit, and this will automatically open up a new browser window in which we can create and edit our Power App. I highly suggest that you work with this integration in the cloud. And this might be one of the few times you'll hear anybody recommend you to scratch Power BI Desktop and work with Power BI with the edit mode of Power BI reports in the service. But the reason why you want to do that is if you open the Power App from the Power BI report like I just did, the Power Apps window in here will be context aware. So you can see right now it shows what I've selected. If I go into my Power BI report now and select, for example, Gladwell Street, you'll notice that the value in my Power Apps browser window changes as well. And this is super powerful for like debugging purposes, right? So the way that data is being sent from Power BI to Power Apps is when you create this integration, when you connect an app to this visual, inside of the app, it creates this Power BI integration element that works like a data connection in Power Apps. For those of you who have not worked with Power Apps before, this is the Power Apps, the Canvas Power Apps Designer. You have like a standard tree view, like you know it from most applications where you build layers of graphical objects. To your Power App, you can add all kinds of different controls. You can add data sources, and you have the opportunity to also define variables and other cool stuff. For these simple apps, we'll mostly just be working with the general control elements here and with data connections. And what you need to know is that the data coming from Power BI, for some reason, doesn't appear in the data tab like we would expect with our Power Apps data sources. They rather appear in the tree view in the shape of this Power BI integration element. And what this means is that this Power BI integration element, we can reference this whenever we create our Power Apps. So the way this works, let me create a new screen. I'm just gonna create a new, sure, blank screen. And on this page, I can say insert new text label. And on this text label, let's increase the font size a little. We can define what text should be shown on this. And I can just type text like country, and that just shows up, right? But I can also modify this to include data coming from Power BI integration dot data. And then if I wrap this in a first formula, because we always want to grab the first item coming from Power Apps, I can now reference the exact three Power BI fields that I added to my Power Apps for Power BI visualization in here. So you'll notice how country name, product name, and street address are the fields I added to my Power Apps visual here. They are also the ones that show up in the IntelliSense when I write my functions in Power Apps. So I can add country name here, and I get a string that is dynamic, that changes with what I'm doing. So if can I not copy paste this? There we go. We can add the product name as well. Product name. And finally, it does a little slow with me today. Bear with me. The street address. So now, again, if I go into Power BI and I click another street, Pape Avenue, it's going to be Pape Avenue that's being displayed dynamically in my Power App. And that's exactly how we can get that dynamic functionality that I showed you just up here. We've already now created a context-aware Power App that understands the filter context of our Power BI report. And what's happening under the hood is that Power BI integration.data, if I highlight this in the formula bar, I can expand the table here. I get to see the underlying table of the Power App inside of my app here. So if I change this visual into a table, you'll see I get country name, product name, street address. I get those three exact items. If I remove the filter, we get tons of items. If I go into Power Apps, you know what's going to happen. I get tons of items. If it wanted to update, it's a little slow, I think, because there were so many items. But in short, it does exactly, it shows exactly the same data as is being filtered through the filters in the Power BI report. So that is how that integration works between Power BI and Power Apps for creating context-aware solutions. All right, so now we've established how to pick up the filters from Power BI inside of the Power App. Now we need to add a text input so that the user can input a text field. And let's make that a multi-line text input. There should be hint text enter comment. There should be no default value. And then we get, something with too small of a font size. There we go. I can test my app so far by click preview the app. Hello world, and all is good. What's missing? Of course, we need to submit this data somewhere. We need to create a button that sends this data somewhere. And to truly build this, of course, you need somewhere to store the comment as well. You could store the comment in Fabric. If you want to do that, this solution would require a premium Power Apps license because connecting to Fabric requires you to use the SQL Server connector. For the demonstration here, I've created a SharePoint list. And in that list, I've created a couple of comments for storing this metadata. Oh, of course, I need to update this to say product and street. Just missed that. The SharePoint list, you'll see it here. I just have a couple of columns, right? I get country, product, address, comment, and it automatically has GUIDs and primary keys under the hood, right, as SharePoint. So I've connected to that SharePoint list from my Power App, and I just now need to create a button. For the sake of time, I'll copy the one I have over here already. And this button, the code that you'll see on it, it has a little bit of a parameter here to show that loading spinner GIF that you saw before. What I'm then doing, this is a little more complicated than it needs to be. I just like to write my Power Apps code like this. I like to first define all the variables that I'm using. So I'm picking up through a with statement, which is like a CTE if you speak SQL in Power Apps. I'm just storing the selected country name online, not a country, but that's how the model is built, the selected product and the selected street in 3 variables. And then I'm picking up the comment coming from my comment box in my text input. Then I'm using a patch formula to reference the destination table. I'm looking up to see, is there already a comment in my comment table for this specific country, product, and address? If that's the case, I want to overwrite it. Otherwise, I want to create a brand new comment using the default values of the SharePoint list, and then also adding or mapping the information of my local country, product, address, and comment variables into their respective columns in the SharePoint list. And all of this code is available on my GitHub for you to try if you don't want to code it from the bottom yourself. What you end up with, if you nice it up a little graphics wise, is this exact layout. There is no code in here that you haven't seen already. It's the same, first Power BI integration data country name. Oh, one thing I did forget was to show you that the text input, we can of course default that to look up any existing comment. That's the functionality we do in fact have built into to the app here, where if I select Michigan Avenue, it defaults to the existing comment for that street. Fabric Cafe Street. It's not able to look that up because we didn't actually make a comment for Fabric Cafe Street. We made one for Monroe Street, and then we changed the street name to Fabric Cafe Street. So I mean, this already highlights one of the dangers of using these integrations, right? If you all of a sudden change the master data that you locked your comments on, you need to do so wisely. We'll get back to that point later. But you can see at least that I have comments made for Grand Street and for Michigan Street that are default looked up, right? And that's it. That's how you build a comment app. It doesn't need to be more fancy than that. And because I'm using a SharePoint list as a destination, the users of this app, they actually don't need a Power Apps license. SharePoint list data connections are free. What you need to know, however, is that because we're using SharePoint lists, the data, the comment itself is not a part of my semantic model right now. I'm using this Power App with a live connection to my SharePoint list to display these comments as well. If I wanted this data to become a part of my semantic model, go directly into Fabric, I would need, if the SharePoint list is still my data source, I'd need to refresh my model with an import connection to the SharePoint list. SharePoint only supports import. However, if I wrote these comments to a data source that supported direct query or direct lake, so a SQL server or a Fabric data warehouse or a Fabric lakehouse, then I could get the data in here live if I'm using direct query, or semi-live if I'm using direct lake, as I showed with this integration before. That was a lot of stuff, but that's how to build a comment app. I want to give you the chance, Merdad, to let me know if there are any questions before we jump to the next integration. Doesn't
Sorry,
seem like it.
I was I was mute.
Totally fine.
There actually is not a question, maybe some sort of comment. It is just for a clarification from Ray. Just to clarify, does extension mean adding Power Apps capabilities to Power BI reports?
Yes, it does indeed. So we can put any Canvas Power App inside of Power BI, context aware or not. I mean, even if you just build a custom Power App that could, that's some kind of entry form that doesn't need, to pick up the filters from Power BI, you can just put it inside and render it in a Power BI report by using this visual here.
Yeah. And there's a comment maybe from Shamim that says the Power Apps option is available in the visual section on Power BI natively. It
Yes.
is just some answering the questions for
Yeah.
the attendees. Thank you very much for being active here. This is such a
Yeah.
useful feature for sure. Cool. There's no more no question.
All right.
Yeah.
Totally fine. We'll continue with the next integration then, just in the interest of time. So the master data management app that we have here, if I close the previous SharePoint app, let's leave that. Let's open the master data management app instead. I'll show you how that one's built. So the master data management app here is, as I said before, writing directly to a Fabric data warehouse. And I say directly, but it's actually being done indirectly, because there are limitations on Fabric data warehouses in the T-SQL layer that actually makes it only somewhat of a good fit for write-back cases for Power Apps. For Power Apps to connect directly to a data source and perform write operations, there needs to be enforced primary keys in place. And that is not the case for Fabric data warehouses and for Fabric lakehouses. It is the case for SQL database in Fabric. So if you want to do write back directly to Fabric in the most native way possible with Power Apps, you should use SQL database in Fabric if you're comfortable using a preview feature. If you're not, you can still do it to warehouses or to lakehouses, but you need one of two different workarounds. If you want to write directly to lakehouses, you'll need to use a Power Automate function. And that's actually what I'm doing in this case, because that also works with Fabric warehouses, but you could also do it through triggering stored procedures from your Power Apps and sending parameterized information from your Power App that way. Bit of a lengthy discussion. We'll see how much time we have to spend on that. I would rather start by showing you how I've built this app right here. So on this screen, just like before, we have Power BI integration.data taking the context of my Power BI report and the filters being applied and sending that to the underlying data table of this app. That means that I can once again pick up the values of Michigan Avenue, of the selected product and the selected country in my drill down bar chart here, and leverage that in my Power App. What I've built here is a simple screen where I've added a drop-down control to manually handle the item's country, product name, and address so that the user themselves can choose which dimension do I want to make a master data entry into. Then I've created a blank text label here, which has a default value where it, depending on the selected value of this dropdown, so you can see I have a switch statement here that says switch over this dropdown value. If the value equals address, then from Power BI integration.data, go ahead and fetch the street address value. If I've selected product name, display the product name. If I've selected country, display the country. So you can see that my value here is switching depending on which value I've selected here. And it's, again, context aware. Now I, of course, need to provide the end users with a way to add the new value. And that's just a raw text input. There is no default value on this one. Now, where the magic in this whole app happens is on the bottom button that you see over here. So here I again have just a little bit of code that shows a loading spinner. Again, I'm using my usual coding pattern of defining the variables I need for the data submission in a with statement, a CTE. So first I'm saying, again, define the table that I want to write to with the switch statement. If the user selected country, then it's the DBO store table that needs to be written to. If it's product name, then DBO product, etc. You get the point. The same is the case for the column name. The column name is going to depend on the user selected value. And then I need both the value that is to be overwritten and the value that it's going to be overwritten with. Then what's going to happen is that we're going to prompt a Power Automate flow to pass this directly to our Fabric data warehouse in this case. And the reason, again, that I can't do this with a SQL connector here is that it simply won't let us write to a data source without enforced primary keys. I actually have just a sample piece of code here that will show you the error. So I'm able to connect to my Fabric data warehouse here. I've done that. You just need to go grab the SQL connection string of your Fabric data warehouse. Actually, let me just show you that we can do that. So if I add a text label and say from here, get the first customer dot first customer dot city, then it's hopefully going to look up from the Fabric data warehouse what's the city of the first customer in the database. Oh, it's a little slow. That's my warehouse being slow, but it's Saint Nazaire. So I have a live connection to my warehouse. I just can't write to it because the primary key on the data source is not enforced. It's just going to give you a nondescript error, but that is the reason. So we can't do this. I can't just patch customer with this information. Rather, what I need to do is to either pass this as a stored procedure. I have another session on that, but that's more SQL focused, and we can't cover that today. But here I have a Power Automate flow instead doing the SQL injection for me. So if I open this up, I've created a Power Automate flow which accepts these four parameters that I was setting with the button. So the table to write to, the column to overwrite, the old value and the new value. So I'm using a Power Apps action here in my Power Automate flow to grab those parameters. Then I'm saying execute a SQL query, which is parameterized to use exactly these parameters. I'm just using a where clause to override, the old value with the new value directly in my warehouse. And then I'm sending a response back to my Power App to let the user know when the flow has successfully run. And the way we execute this is simply to say, well, run this Power Automate flow with these four parameters and store the output, the last thing you just saw on the flow, in var result. And finally, notify the user if the result of that variable was success, show a success notification, and otherwise a failure notification. Had this been a direct query semantic model, Power BI integration.refresh would trigger a visual refresh of your Power BI report to let you show the data from the direct query connection immediately. And truth be told, write back solutions in Power BI do just work best with Power Query. But for the sake of the argument and to show you that it kind of works with Direct Lake as well, I wanted to do that today. But all in all, that's what you need in order to create this write back functionality in which we were able to take Fabric Cafe Street and override the value of Monroe Street with that. It has the caveat, as mentioned, that if you had logged any comments on Monroe Street and used that dimensional value in your SharePoint list, now that comment will never be able to be returned by the Power BI report, right? So if you want to build true master data and management solutions here, you should probably have some backend artifacts to handle updating the dimensional values in your facts, or you should be using keys instead of direct product names for stuff like the comment app link here, right? Instead of storing the comment on the name of the address, I should probably have a key instead underneath, so that it didn't matter if the address actually changed its name. So there are of course ways around that, right? And just to sort of reiterate on what licenses are needed for this, if you want to do direct connection to Fabric, or you want to use stored procedures against the Fabric warehouse, you need Power Apps premium licensing because it's part of the SQL Server data connector in Power Apps. If you want to use this Power Automate solution, you don't need Power Apps premium, but you need Power Automate premium because the Power Automate flow is using a SQL Server connection if you have Power Automate Premium and you use a SQL Server connection in there, the Power App will inherit the license from that Automate flow, so you don't also need to license the Power App. A little convoluted, but that was just to cover that. In the interest of time, I'll jump right on to the third extension before we take more questions, because I want to make sure we cover all of this within the hour, though I know there's not necessarily a hard deadline. I want to make sure that the users who do need to run, they've gotten to see all three extensions. So again, the third extension here, I have a simple Power Apps for Power BI visual with the same three fields added, although for this extension, I don't really use them altogether. If I open this in edit mode, you'll see just how simple of an app that I've created here. So this app has almost no controls on the canvas. It's almost just a gallery. It's just going to finish loading. Always takes a second. There we go. So you can see all this contains is what you see on the left-hand side. These are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 elements of this app. There's nothing else in here, well, except for a data connection to OpenAI, but I'll get back to that. So on this screen, I have a gallery in which I'm displaying a local connection called ChatGPT messages that I'm going to build myself with this app. In the gallery, I am displaying text body and I'm displaying an image to show who is the interacting user, so that when I'm prompting what is Microsoft Fabric and we get a response, I have built in some dynamic logic here to say if the user type is user, then align left, otherwise align right. And similarly for the profile image, if it's a user, use the user.image, otherwise use my ChatGPT icon that I uploaded to the app. So that's just how this gallery, the sort of chat functionality works. What I'm doing to store and show these messages is a simple text input where users can add text, and then all the magic happens on this button. So again, it's one button doing the majority of the lifting here. And what I do is that I'm using a community-built data connector called OpenAI. So this is built by I think Robin Rosengrün, a great German contributor to the Power Apps community. He built this, and once you select the data connector and try and add a new data connection, all you need to do is supply this with an API key. So if you go to OpenAI and create an account and create an API key and make sure you have some kind of billing set up, I just put in $5 of fixed credit so it doesn't overrun anything. You just need to take this secret key and add it here after typing in bearer. So you need to add it. You need to write it like this: bearer space your API key. Once that is done, you can prompt this data connector inside of your buttons like so. So I'm saying, okay, call OpenAI data connector.chat completion. Use this OpenAI model. I could use some of the more expensive ones, but I want to make sure my credit lasts. I want to send to it this message that is in my text input, the text input here, and say that I'm the user. In addition to sending this, I am also collecting this record of information, role, user, content, text input, into my local connection called ChatGPT message, which is the one that I'm using to display here. So the first thing that happens in the code is that my question and my user information gets stored in this local connection as what is Microsoft Fabric user. And I'm using that to display that in the gallery. The next thing that happens is that I get back the result of this prompt in a variable that I called var ChatGPT response. And then I take the first message from that response and also collect that into the same collection as before. So now I have a table that has 2 rows of data, the user asking what's Microsoft Fabric, and the assistant saying the result. That's all there is to it. Now I can interface OpenAI like that, right? And ask it anything. Does it know what Fabric Cafe is? Maybe. Let's see. Oh, I couldn't find any information about that. Maybe if I use the more expensive model, we'll make sure that the OpenAI gets a word ASAP. Um, and of course, as I mentioned at the beginning, if you had a custom API in your organization that's closed off from the public internet and that has context about your company data, you could build your own custom connector that interfaces that API and embed that into your Power App. And you could expose that in your Power BI reports if you want to provide context for your sales figures. If you want to let users ask questions about your specific products in your organization, you can do that with this integration. I think that's pure awesome. Um, so that's actually the short demo of how to do that. Before I jump into that extra little bit I had about translytical task flows and the riddles, I wanted to again, Mehrdad, just see if there were any questions that we need to address at this point.
I don't see any question here at this
All right.
stage.
Totally fine. I'll jump right on then to show you translytical task flows. Because what happened at Build just this Monday was that a feature which has been in private preview for a while and that I've had the fortune of being able to play around with was finally released to public preview, which means we can finally talk about it with all of you guys if you've not been part of sort of the private preview. And what was announced is translytical task flows, which is a feature in Power BI Desktop. So if you go into Power BI Desktop, if you've updated to the latest version, you go into Options and find Preview Features. At the very bottom of your preview features is a new functionality called translytical task flows. And what this allows you to do is to create buttons in your report with native Power BI blank buttons in here. There's a new action type where you can call what's called a data function. And this lets you point to a user data function in a Fabric workspace. And I'll show you how that function works in a second. But you get to point to a function which you can set up to accept certain parameters. Uh, and um, and then you can configure it also to pick up, for example, information from measures in your report. So here I have, again, units sold by product name. I've set up my button to uh, accept product ID. So I've added the max of product ID as a field to my parameter here. And as a comment, I've pointed to this slicer that I've added here. The new functionality here works with the three new types of slicers. So the new button slicer, text slicer, and list slicer. You can take the input from all of these and add to the field. So if I wanted to add a new comment for the AWC logo cap, Fabric Cafe, I can click Save. And let's hope this goes well. Sometimes it's a little slow. It's completely new feature in preview, all of that, but it should. Okay, now I have a direct query connection here, so it shouldn't refresh, but it decided to do that just now nonetheless. Let's hope it at least gets the right data in. All right, there we go. Request submitted, comment was added to the database, and it's there. I now have a comment in my Fabric SQL database that was written just from Power BI without the use of Power Apps. All I used was a button, a slicer, a measure, and then a user data function. So let me just show you that user data function. If I go into my warehouse here, I have a UDF here, a user data function. And this is where things get a little complicated, right? I think Power Apps, they take a little while getting used to, but they are low code. If you want to do this natively in Fabric, you need to grab some samples from GitHub, or you need to get comfortable using the samples that are hidden in here to write Python. And what I'm doing here is I'm saying, okay, import some Python libraries, define a Python function here that accepts two different, or rather three different parameters. One is a connection to my SQL DB, one is an integer that's my product ID, and one is my comment. And those will be the parameters that show up inside of Power BI. And then it's gonna establish, it's when I call this function from Power BI, it's gonna provide the product ID, it's gonna provide the comment, and run some code to establish a connection to the SQL database, insert the data into the table, and return a little bit of information to the Power BI report whether you succeeded or not. The end result being that you get, do I have the demo DB here? You get the data that I wrote in Power BI with Fabric Cafe into your, let's see if I have it here. Oh, it's in here. Comments. Let's see if the Fabric Cafe comment is in my database. Luckily, it is. So you can see here I actually made a comment app natively in Fabric, not using Power Apps. So I wanted to show you that that's possible too, but it requires Python skills, and it of course will consume Power BI or Fabric capacity units instead of requiring Power Apps licensing. And also, I still have a ways to go looking into the full functionality, but obviously you have more freedom when it comes to UI and UX when embedding a Power App than you have with using only those couple of slicers and button interactions. Say you wanted to let the user input a date. There's of course no date selector here that will work. They'll have to type it in text, and then you need to pass it out with Python. And yeah, you can tell how that will go. But very cool. I think it's awesome that you can do write back natively in Fabric. I think that's we've come a long way. It's great to see this finally arriving. All right. With that, any questions, comments for that before we go to the riddles for today?
I don't see any question. There's only a comment that says, great explanation so far. Thank you.
All right, that's good to hear. Let's instead jump right into the riddles here. And how is it again? Is it whoever is first with answering here, Medad? Are you drawing between everybody who answers correctly, or how does it work with handing out these vouchers for the riddles?
Well, there's first comment in our chat, right? So
Right,
I'm
right.
gonna just overlay the chat here, yeah, and we can just
I only
see.
have one screen, so I can't see it myself. So I'll
I'm
let it be
I'm
up to
gonna
you
I'm
to.
gonna I'm gonna sorry, it is not going to be overlaid, but yeah, I know we are live on YouTube, so the comments are coming on YouTube. So yeah, let's see, guys. Where
So here's
is
the
the
first
first riddle?
first riddle. I'm the bridge where insights align, connecting platforms, fabric, and design. With data, I chart the way to turn what is raw into a visual display. What am I? And this is, of course, Jon Feed, my ChatGPT extension in Power BI, who conversed to find the good riddles for this session. Then I edited them a little bit to be better.
Cool.
Do we have any guesses in the chat, Murad?
Yeah, I will just look forward the.
There's usually a little bit of delay, if I recall correctly, between the platforms.
It
So I'm
is,
not sure
yeah, it is.
for the second.
We have actually we have the live in LinkedIn as well. But
Okay.
let's see who's coming first. I'm the bridge where insights align, connecting platforms, fabric, and design. With data, I chart the way to turn what is raw into visual display. Shamim says Power BI.
Power BI is the answer. Amazing. Well done.
Awesome, awesome. Shamim. Actually, Shamim was one of our winners in the past.
Okay.
And we have also, yeah, from Jo. But now it was in 2024, so we are in 2025. Shamim, you are the first
Awesome.
winner. Just message us, in the Fabric Cafe, and just redeem your voucher. So let's go with the next one, next riddle.
Here's the next one. I'm the guardian of uniqueness in a realm of data. Without me, chaos reigns and nothing can be updated. In the world of Power BI, I hold the key to make write back solutions work efficiently. What am I? And this is maybe a little harder and has to do with what I was talking about earlier about how Power Apps can write natively to Fabric. So if you think you've got that one, please let us know in the chat as well.
I'm the guardian of uniqueness in a realm of data. Without me, chaos, reigns. Nothing can be updated. If I read your name correctly, Chayo, says Power App.
Power Apps is not correct. That's not the answer I was looking for here. We're looking for something a little
Wahid,
more database
uh,
specific.
Wahid says primary key.
That's the exact answer I was hoping for. Good job,
Yeah,
guys.
good job, Wahid. So we have actually another, answer from Nafyun, but Wahid's answer was the first. So Wahid just message me and in on LinkedIn, so we can just share the exam voucher with you guys. Thank you very much, Yon. That was great. There's a question actually for you. It says UDF are only available with Python.
As far as I'm aware, UDFs are Python only at the moment. Yeah, there's no option to sort of write it with SQL. You'll need the Python syntax and Python libraries to import the correct libraries and set up your data connections to. It works with Fabric Lakehouse, Warehouse, Fabric SQL databases, and even some mirror databases. But it's Python only. Yeah, so it's also a new set of tools for me to learn. Finally, I have an excuse, I guess, to learn a bit of Python. I've been avoiding it so far, but I think I can't escape it anymore.
Okay, cool. So I think we're good. There, I don't see any more question.
If there's nothing else,
That's
final words
fine.
from me. Just if anybody was curious about the things presented today, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. You can find. I haven't uploaded the session yet on GitHub, but I will do that to take a look there. Um, on my LinkedIn, you'll also find links to my blog where I have very in-depth tutorials about how to build these integrations. So you might also find more help there if this is a topic that interested you.
Okay, cool.
So that's the final words from me.
Yeah, for me, actually, it was really useful, seeing the connectivity between, Power BI and Power Apps, and how we can do the integration between these, different platforms, different apps, to make something happen. Always we are looking for the workarounds. It is not 100% one way, but it is great to have it, even for that section that was, having the chat gpt, based on your specific model, having that open AI connected to your report. That was really great. And we have some thanks. Yeah, thanks. Excellent presentation, Yunan. Thanks, Merta. Thank you for joining. A great session, guys. And my name is different on LinkedIn. No worries, mate. You can just refer to that. So I'm gonna share my screen again. So our session with Yon is done. Thank you, Yon, for
Thank you.
contributing into the community. Really, it is really, appreciated. I know it is now late for you. It is 10 something on your side. Thank you for being available, guys. If you missed the session, if you, of course, you're gonna need to rewatch it, because uh, there were lots of codes that, if you want to just practice that and do it yourself, of course, learning is much better by doing the things, right? So if you have to just maybe rewatch it, feel free to rewatch it on a YouTube channel. It's going to be available, immediately after this session on the live section. Our next event will be next week on my Friday at 9 p.m., or in Australia time, May 31st, on Saturday, your time, guys, in at 2 p.m. EST, just AEST. Just find your time zone based on that. The registration has been shared recently, and it is available to just RSVP. It will be a session with Mehdi Safiri. So, and again, feel free to subscribe to YouTube channel and follow us on LinkedIn and Meetup for the upcoming sessions and for the past sessions. Cool. I don't see anything left in the comments. Jon, thank you very much once again. And
You're welcome.
if you have anything to add, feel free. If not, we can just hoping a great weekend for everyone.
Nothing from me. Thank you so much for joining, guys. I hope to see you out there.
Cool. Cheers. Bye bye.